the Book of Mormon is not, it's not just a history of ancient American civilizations, but it seeks to convince all that Jesus is the Christ. First and foremost, the convincing of Jew and Gentile of all that Jesus is the Christ. That Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God, is what it says, which is very powerful language.
Yeah.
That he wasn't just a good man who had good teachings, that Jesus is the Christ, the eternal God, and that salvation comes through him, and that it is he that we should be seeking. We've got to keep that in mind as we study the Book of Mormon.
Yeah. And we'll study this shortly here, but even Nephi says, I purposely have created two sets of plates, one for the righteous, the holy things, and then obviously the larger plates, which were for more of the secular. Now there is those plates, when abridged by Mormon, got a little bit intertwined, but always with the focus of how do we increase faith and seek to promote Christ as the Savior and as the Messiah and Redeemer of the world, right? So it's always that bent towards the spiritual and less so of the secular, so to speak. Not that some of that isn't woven in, but that's not the focus of the book by any means.
And so the title page also says that it was written by the spirit of prophecy and revelation. And I think that's important because the Book of Mormon has to be read and interpreted by the same spirit. When we study the Book of Mormon, we need to study it with the same spirit of prophecy and revelation with which it was written. And maybe that seems a little daunting, or it seems like a big ask to say we have to have the spirit of prophecy.
Right.
Well, we just read in the Book of Revelation that the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Christ. So the Book of Mormon seeks to convince us that Jesus is the Christ. And as we start getting that out of it, and gaining that witness that Jesus is the Christ, that opens up the spirit of prophecy, which will allow us to have full benefit and full access to not just the words, but all of the spiritual intent behind what's written on those pages and by these prophets of God. We can really get the meaning and the applicability that we seek and that we need out of it.
The fascinating thing about this is you read books from generations past, books that have kind of stood the test of time, but in order to truly understand these books, for instance, when I was in high school, they're making me read, Shakespeare and stuff. And before we would even go through and read
To
his
be
writings,
or not to be.
but we almost spent just as much time understanding the context around what was going on. Why did Shakespeare write the way that he wrote? Why did he write a particular play? What was the message he was trying to convey? So that context matters. The beautiful thing about the Book of Mormon is the only context you need to worry about is studying it with the Spirit and with an eye towards revelation. That's it. That's the context. It's not a historical, it's not a time-focused context. The Book of Mormon is what you need to rely on. That's not the angle. The angle is it was received by revelation, it was translated by revelation, and we, as partakers of it, need to receive it with the spirit of revelation. That's all the context you need. You don't have to go back and understand everything that was going on in the world in which the Nephites and the Lamanites existed. All you need is the Spirit, and everything that you can learn out of the Book of Mormon can be had just by having that context right there.